Hey everyone, what is up? Aaron Lovejoy here from Miniature Monthly, and I'm super excited because the new remastered sculpts, the new remastered miniatures from Flying Frog Productions, that's Shadows of Brimstone, have finally hit the streets. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to take some of those models, show you how to assemble them, and get you well on your way to getting ready to paint them. So some of these videos are going to be kind of short. Some of them, like this one, are going to be a little bit longer because this video, I'm actually going to show you how I modify the Harbinger's base and make it, well, just like the studio version. And why is that? Because it actually is the studio version. So let's check it out. Okay, so first off, we have our supplies. We've got Aves Epoxy Sculpt. It's a 2-part putty. I roll out 2 tiny balls to get me like a 50-50 mix. Those are about the same size, close enough. I've also got some pluck foam. We're going to use this to make sand. And I've got the base itself and the topper for the base. This is what the Harbinger sits on. You'll go right here. And it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to make sure everything looks good. First thing we're going to have to do is glue this on. But let's talk about, before I get ahead of myself, let's talk about the other supplies we need. You need a rock. I use this flat rock. It's got kind of a cool texture on it. Find something that looks good, you got it. We've got a sculpting tool. It's got a little spatula on one end, and then the knife tool on the other. I've got a brush that's kind of got some stiff bristles, and I've got an X-Acto knife. Don't know if I'm going to need that. I've already cleaned up the base bottom part in the assembly video, so this one we're just going to have to glue on here. I've got super glue, and I've got some zip kicker, or Instaset. Zip kicker is a brand name. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that he's facing the way I want him to face. So like, what if I put that like that? Would it look weird? I think we're going to go somewhere like that. So I need to make a mark on the base to make sure that it's in the right spot. So I'm just going to make a little cut around right there and over there. Okay. I'll take my super glue and right here. All the way there on the outside edge, and we'll place it onto the base, following my guide as best as possible. So I've actually put it a little more this way than dead on centered. You can obviously put yours on fairly centered if you want, but I want it a little bit off center because when I take photos, he still looks all right. But I want to put some train tracks right there. So these bases are really cool. They actually took the bases that I did for the original studio figures of this and copied some of what I had done on the basing. So I feel very honored that they did that. And I'm just gonna accent it a little bit. So we're gonna take our 2 pieces of putty, Aves Epoxy Sculpt, mix it up. I just fold it over on itself. Some people roll it around in their hands. You can do whatever it takes to get this stuff mixed together. Usually once it starts getting mixed together, it'll get a little sticky and get on your fingers and stuff. I hate that. But in this case, I think my fingers are a little sweaty. So, hey, that's how you do it. All right, so we got this. Mix a little bit more of my putty in there. And voila. It's like a natural gray color. Brownish gray. Put my reading glasses on so I can see. And let's get a little bit closer so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so first thing I want to do, I want to create some railroad tracks over here. So, or not railroad tracks, but mine tracks. So I'm going to take a little ball of this putty. I'm going to roll it out. Oops. And this stuff's sticky. The longer it will get, it will start sticking to your table here, my mat here, and it will be a pain in the butt. But I think this is good. You want to have a long enough piece. I think I'm going to have a little bit of a train track going, maybe just going right here. It's kind of weird because there's a drop off right there. So I think kind of come around the corner and like that. So we're only going to need one side of this. Pick that up. Place it down. Okay. Sort of stick it down a little bit up here. Need more. We need more track. This is the fun part of making bases where nothing works quite right. Okay, so maybe we'll just have it like going a little bit straighter. That's it. I don't think it would have a curve like that. And then I just kind of push it down flat. So I want to make sure this is all flat right here. Try to keep it about the same width all the way along if possible. Cut off the end over there. And I'll cut off the end on this side. I'm going to follow the curve of the base. It's always nice to put these extra mine type things into your bases because it just adds to the ambiance, reminds you that they're down in a mine shaft or whatever. And technically this guy's from the Jargano set, so you could argue that he could be in the Swamps of Death, but not my Harbinger. My Harbinger is deep down in the mines and he's gonna get you. So get that. Just kind of keep pushing the sides, coaxing them into a nice straight railroad track type thing, and then we'll let that area dry. I think I'm also going to add a couple little rocks back here. So to make rocks, I'll just take my little putty ball, push some flat-ish little areas into it, and I'm going to push this right under this ledge over here. Flatten it a little bit. Kind of accidentally got a little kink right there, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. Make it look like the rock's fractured. So I'll get that. Push this over that way. And grab a little bit more of my putty, a smaller one. And sometimes I find that I don't want the putty to be perfectly smooth. Like you see this piece of putty has some wrinkles and crinkles in it. And put it right back there. So you may be asking yourself, why don't you just grab regular rocks? Well, I could, but then I'd be trying to find little pebbles and stuff that fit where I want them to fit. Like I want these things to fit right here. And maybe I don't have rocks that are that shape or whatever. So also I can make them look similar to what's already sculpted on here. I'm going to put one right up here. If you wet your tool with your sponge over here or paper towel that has some water on it, it won't stick as badly to the sculpting tool. You can just kind of coax that into a rock shape right there. Also going to put over here, we're going to start adding dirt. So I'm going to show you how to sculpt dirt. Again, you probably ask yourself, why the heck would you sculpt dirt when we have lots of little things that look like dirt, but no matter how fine the sand grain, you're never going to really find sand grain that's in scale to 28 millimeter. So I find that I just sculpt my own, and then that it's kind of cool because I can actually butt it up against all this stuff, and it'll be a seamless thing. So we got all these dark stone right here. I might add a few more dark stone of my own, which would be kind of cool. I always, when I was doing the original box art for all this stuff, I always figured well, it's not easy to make the dark stone shards. It's kind of a pain in the butt because you got to let things dry, and I didn't have time for that. So I only put them on the big models. So I always envisioned that these big guys would always be guarding, a horde of dark stone or something. So, and it made them special. If everybody had dark stone on their bases, then I don't know, it's just kind of weird. But yeah, so it's kind of cool that they've been adding darkstone to their larger models now on the bases, at least some of them, and I like that. But regardless, we'll add some more, make it like super rad, super fresh darkstone. So you always want to remember when you're putting dirt in, sometimes it runs up on the side of things. It's not always like perfectly flat. So I'll put a mound right here that kind of goes up the side of this rock. And the trick here is, I know a lot of times in sculpting videos and stuff, they want you to always smooth everything out. In this case, I actually want you to leave it kind of rough. And the reason for that is it adds to the texture, and it adds to the realism of your dirt. Put a little bit of dirt back here where that glue is. Also, it'll kind of push the glue down. We'll add my tools so that it kind of cleans everything. And I want to clean it off the side of the base here. I don't really want my basing material on the side of the base. I just want it under that rock. And we'll put some over here. I got putty mixed with my super glue, so it's kind of doing some weird things right now. That's all right. So I'm only going to go to right here, I think, because we got to let those rocks cure before we put sand around them. But that being said, this is the first step. So put this here. I'm going to put a little bit more sand out here. So to make these areas look like they're married together correctly, I'm going to run that sand right up to the skeletons. So I'm actually going over some of the plastic model. I'm just going to go right to there because I don't want to get close to those tracks. You'll see why here in a second. Now I've got, these could be actual rocks over here, but over here, maybe that's a rock too. I can put another rock out here and some more dark stone, so I think that'll be okay. We'll put a little bit more sand right here. Then, once we got that, I'm going to take a piece of my pluck foam. Now, I'm always collecting this stuff. They come out of blister packs or whatever. There's all different coarsenesses of pluck foam. So when you find one that works really good, hold on to it or get extras. Hide it in a drawer somewhere. This is from my hobby go bag from Creature Caster from Jason Craze and Jen and all the guys from Creature Caster. It seems to work pretty good. So I just use the pluck foam. Areas that are tough like this to get into, I just stick it in there and then I'll push it in with my sculpting tool. That will give me a nice texture way down in the depths where I can't get my fingers really. There. Got finely textured. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. Finely textured sand all the way around. And maybe we'll take this thing. Make sure that sand doesn't just stop right there at the plastic. There we go. Perfect. Kind of feathered in a little bit. That looks pretty cool. All right, so once we got our sand sculpted, while that's still wet, you're going to want to go into your bits box. I've got an extensive bits box, and we're going to get some parts. So these are all watch parts. I bought them on eBay. Make sure that they're real watch parts, but there's all kinds of cool little metal brackets and stuff. Like all this stuff is really, really neat and works great on basing. I've also got some pieces of milliput that I've let dry, and we'll get one like this. This would be a good horn, or it'd be a good piece of darkstone. Same with these things right here. And I can make darkstone out of both sides. So having a lot of this stuff dried is a good thing to do. So whenever you have extra putty or whatever, I make little balls, or I make these things are like supposed to be like the darkstone on was it Tradera? Targa, the Targa Plateau. Those are the dark stones from there. They're just not shaved down yet. So little things like that, super cool. I'm gonna grab a couple little pieces in here. Maybe get one of these bigger pieces like that, and a couple of these little gears and dials and all that fun stuff. Very cool. So we got that. I'm going to put my glasses back on and push a couple of these things into the sand. Maybe I'll put one right here. The cool thing is all these things can be bent. They break really easily too, but they look cool. So that's a nice bent gear. And gears and stuff, watch parts work great for the mines because there's all that extra mining equipment and everything. And so it just makes it super, super fun. So push that down into the putty a little bit. And if it doesn't stick real well, I can always glue it later. But for now, at least it will be stuck in the putty, or part of the putty. Maybe that's a bad spot for it. Maybe put it on the other side. Oops. This is the part where I fiddle fart for 5 hours trying to get this thing to stick. There, good enough. All right, so that little piece is on there. I've got a little piece over here. I'm gonna take our darkstone, and you're probably saying that doesn't look like darkstone at all, but it will after I start messing with it. So I need to cut flat gemstone sides all over the place. And I like making it very uneven so it's not all the same all the way around. Go. There's one. And I'll grab my tweezers. It's always good to have a pair of these needle nose tweezers. I'm just going to make a bushel of them right in that area. Give me a minute.
All right, it's ready.
10. Now this works really good. You can use Milliput, you can use Aves Epoxy Sculpt, any kind of putty that dries really, really hard. And the key is let it dry. And once it's dry, I'll even take some more of this putty that we didn't use before, and I'll shove it down on top of this one. Just kind of lock. Maybe not shove it down on top. Maybe we'll put it underneath it. Add a little bit more putty in that part. Stamp it down. just in case you see any of it showing through. This piece here. Just gonna push it right into the side here. This is where every single one of these pieces is gonna fight me. But that's okay. It'll be worth it in the end. All right, so we push that piece down in. This other piece. Ow, just stabbed myself with my needle nose pliers. Now, I like my dark stone to kind of be jutting out a little bit aggressive, not just straight up and down. Anyway, look at that. Blood for the blood god right there. That's where I stabbed myself. I've never stabbed myself with needle nose pliers before, so it's always nice that I can do it first time on video, on camera. Maybe we'll do one more. You ever ask yourself, should I do one more? Do one more. That's the answer to that question. It's always the answer. Put that one right there. There we go. All right, so I've already stuck my hand into my putty a couple times, felt it stick. We lost the top of a little wheel over here. So many bad things are happening. That's all right. Just stick it right back on. All right, and then this train track probably got hit a couple times, so we'll get fingerprints out of there. Actually, I think I want the back end of this train track to be ripped up. So I'm gonna rip up the back of it a little bit and then twist it up. There, looks like a beaten up railroad track. That's cool. Those other things, our rocks have been sitting there for a while, so I'm gonna grab my rock with my texture on it, and we're just gonna push this in. So if you give your putty about like 20 minutes to set up, That's just about perfect. You don't want to wait too long because if it sets up too much, you won't be able to stamp it, and then you have these goofy, perfectly smooth rocks. But, or they got your fingerprints all over them or whatever. But if we give it just about 20 minutes and then come back in, it actually takes the stamping better too, if it's a little bit cured. There we go. Got some cool looking rocks back here. Got our dirt. We've got some dark stone. We've got a couple little doodads that are in there. If I wanted to throw a weapon or something in there, I could do that as well. I don't think this needs a weapon though. So put our model back on there, see what he looks like. He's guarding his stash of darkstone. Very cool. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna come back and finish off this section. All right, so it's been 3 or 4 hours. Our putty's kind of dry, or dry enough to add some more putties on here. So I've mixed up some new putty. Let's make sure my work area is dirt free. And we're gonna roll out some more sausages, just like we did with the railroad tracks. So we'll roll this out. That's probably too thin right there. So we'll roll it up together. Whoa, look at that. Ain't no mistakes here. All right, so we need planks of wood. So we're gonna put this up here. Here's an easy way to do it. Put it up on there like that. Push it down on top and then squeeze it here on the bottom. Cut that. And we'll cut the top. See if we can get another one right there. Oops. There we go. Squeeze it down. And then we'll just push the sides in. Push that front back a little bit more. So basically we're making the little planks of wood. So these planks of wood would normally be over, and then there'd be another rail right here. We don't have that, so whoop-de-doo. And we're gonna put this other plank in here right here. So these ones on the edge, if you just try to butt it up against the edge and have it hanging over, it's way too hard. It's gonna keep falling off. So if you just kind of put it over the whole thing, chop that, chop here, and we've got our planks of wood on there. There we go. Perfect. I've also got a little needle here that I made with a paintbrush, and I just shoved a needle in there. Used a little green stuff to affix it and some super glue. And we're gonna put little holes on the end here, and those are gonna be our nail holes. I don't know if they'd be driving nails into these pieces of wood or spikes, but it looks kind of cool. Adds to the realism, I guess. All right. So got that on there like that. I want more dirt over in here. So let's start. And this is another thing with the wood here, the wood planks. We need that to set up a little bit before we put our wood grain in. So that's a good time to do this. Now, you could put the rocks on after you put the sand in, but they'll be on top of the dirt and not in the dirt. This way I can push the sand right up to the edge of the rocks, and it looks like they're, they've been there for a while, for a millennia. I think little things like that just really add to the overall look of your models and your terrain. So that's why I kind of like being in control and sculpting my own elements. It's not very hard, it just takes a little bit longer. And see here, I'll push this up against there. I think we want a big old blob of dirt right here. Kind of going up against that undercut there of the rocks. And all this stuff will be like this. So this is going up. That's going to be a rock. So we'll leave it as is. Now, here's a part I don't want the railroad tracks to be level with the dirt. So if I push the edge of the dirt real fine right here up against the railroad track, it looks like the railroad track is taller than it is. Just like that. That's a little trick to, because the first time I did these, I just filled it right up and the railroad tracks went away. They just disappeared, and that wasn't good. Even if you lose half of it, it doesn't look nearly as good. You need that depth there. So if I just push it real thin right there on the edge, same thing, I kind of did that on the edge of these bases. See how the sand just kind of fades into the edge of the base? Perfect. I will just keep hitting this in, and I want, got the part of the railroad track here that, or the minecart track that's damaged. So I will be careful, hopefully not to break that. I figure the Harbinger got pissed off or something and wrecked the track or something. I don't know. Something bad befelled this minecart track right there. Again, if you need to smooth out your, like, I want to get the putty kind of smooth right in there. Not too smooth. Remember what I said. The rougher this putty is going down, the better sand texture you'll get. All right, push that in. That stuff going up into that little dark stone shard right there. I can have this stuff kind of roll around. I can actually have it go over part of this this gear right here, so it looks like it's buried in the sand, which is kind of cool. There. Let's not get too cutesy here. Okay, what do I do? Do I dare putting some sand in here? I might as well. Usually I'd wait for this till after the fact, till after my wood dries, because then I can just push my sponge in there. But for the sake of time, and I'm just incredibly lazy, there we go. Put that like that. All right, I think I want to do one other thing in here. It seems like, okay, so that's like a little overhang, and I've got my bits box here. Let's find a shotgun or a pistol or something. Maybe a hand weapon. There's a pistol. Maybe we'll put like a little smorgasbord of weapons down here. I think a baseball bat would be weird. I got one of these shotguns. So these things I get from Reaper Miniatures makes them, and they are super cool for putting on bases and stuff. There's my file this down. So I need to clean the mold lines off this, and I will be doing that for just a second. And then when I come back, we'll put these guns in there. So it'll be like the little stash, like maybe people were hiding them, or they were hiding and got killed, and they left their guns. So let me get the mold lines off this thing, and we will be rocking and rolling. All right, so I got my guns, and the question here is, do I make them broken or do I just stick them on? I think we'll put this one right here, like laying across. That looks cool. And since there's only a little bit in the putty, I'm gonna put a little super glue on the other side. All right, I'm just gonna put it all the way along there because I don't know where the heck it's gonna actually hit. And we'll put this down into, I have it before, right there. All right, there we go. There, that looks cool. So I think you always want to do test fits, so do a quick test fit on this. I think that would be cool. Yeah, it's like a shotgun right in front of him. Perfect. And then we'll have a pistol just laying on the ground. Ba-bam. So kind of like there was a shootout here a long time ago. I don't know. And that stuff got left. We got our piece of foam. Just be careful not to break our broken rail. I'm going to push that in ever so gently. And we'll do this stuff up here. If I mess up the little wood beams there, I can always fix them. But let's see if we can not do that. Push this down in there. Just want to get as much sand texture as I can. Just kind of roll. I'm literally rolling this sponge across. There. I think that looks pretty cool. Maybe we'll make it look like this shotgun's been there a little while. So I'll put a little bit of dirt at the base of this. Gun there. There we go. Push that in. Perfect. All right, let's fix our lumber here. The railroad ties, or I don't know what they are. It's not a railroad, so it's just pieces of wood between tracks. Make sure there's some gaps there. And then the main thing you want to do on this wood is get in as close as possible. And you're going to put little streaks. I like making the ends of the wood like sort of cracked. These ones are really short, so you don't have to worry about doing stuff all the way along. Usually I do like kind of swirly, like kind of back and forth little motions like that to make the wood grain. But on this, I think just doing the small little hits is perfect. And then let's find those little holes that we made before. Just going to re-hit them a little bit, make them a little bit bigger so you can see them. I'm hoping later on when I paint this, either my washes or whatever, if I dry brush, whatever I end up doing to the groundscape here, if it catches just right, it will look like there's nail holes there. And I think that would be pretty cool. The other thing that I'm a little concerned about, and this is me just getting a little bit anal here, is the way the ground cover over here just ends abruptly. And maybe I can put a little bit more dirt around a couple of these dark stone shards and make them a little bit stronger. So I'm just going to shove a little bit of putty down in here. I'll go right at the top of this. Kind of comes across the top of that. There. I think that works. Shove this down in there. Grab my sponge. Oops. And push this down, trying desperately not to break those dark stone shards. All right, that looks cool. Okay, so we've got dark stone shards, we've got sand, dirt, whatever. We've got some rocks. We've got guns, we got railroad tracks, we got gears. We've got a little bit of everything. I think it looks pretty cool. Alrighty. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing how the studio version of the Harbinger's base was created. Maybe you can do something very similar in your own home and for your own game. I think that would be really cool. I'd love to see it. If you're looking at instruction on miniature painting, some tutorials, we've got lots of tutorials over at Miniature Monthly. www.patreon.com/Miniature Monthly. We've also got online courses at miniaturemonthly.com. We've got you covered on your miniature painting learning, so join us today.